Hey Potterheads! When you think of Harry Potter and his squad, do you picture Daniel Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, and Emma Watson? Well, J.K. Rowling had other ideas for Harry, Ron, Hermione, and the gang. Here's how the characters in the movies should have looked. Emma Watson captures Hermione's clever, bossy, fiercely loyal personality perfectly. And she's a pretty close match to J.K. Rowling's physical description too, with her big hair and brown eyes. But there are various tweaks that need to be made to get Hermione looking just how the author described her. Let's start with the hair. When we first meet Hermione on the Hogwarts Express, she's described as having lots of bushy brown hair. So let's frizz up that wavy mane and get it even bigger. When you see Hermione in the fully illustrated version of the first book, her hair is actually pretty curly. Given that J.K. Rowling chose the illustrator Jim Kay herself, we can be pretty confident that's how Hermione should have looked. We also need to make her locks darker. Emma's hair is just too blonde to match the description and illustration. Thank goodness she discovered Sleek Easy's hair potion in time for the Yule Ball. Next up is Hermione's mouth. Her teeth are way too regular to match the book's description. Rowling writes about the know-it-all's rather large front teeth. Sure, Madame Pomfrey shrinks her cursed teeth in the fourth book, but they were never that big in the movies in the first place. So we're taking these bad boys to Bugs Bunny proportions. Want a fun fact? The director of the first movie, Chris Columbus, did get Emma to try out fake teeth, but they quickly realized it was totally impractical. When you think of Ron Weasley, you think of ginger hair, right? And that's thanks to Rupert Grint. But we need to back up. In J.K. Rowling's description of Ron when Harry first meets him on platform 9 3/4, his hair is flaming red, like all the Weasley boys who are headed to Hogwarts that day. So we definitely need to brighten up his mane. We need to deal with Ron's face now. He's described in the books as having freckles, so we need to add those in. As for his nose, it needs to lengthen out. After all, J.K. Rowling points out that Ron has a long nose. All of these features match up in the fully illustrated version of the first novel. His eyes also need to be blue, not Rupert Grint's greeny blue, a fact that J.K. Rowling revealed in an interview. Finally, we need to deal with Ron's body. He's shown as being average height and average build in the first movie, but in the book he's described as being tall, thin, and gangling. So let's lengthen out those limbs. After all, he's described as being almost as tall as the twins already. He also needs big hands and feet. Yep, that's much more like it. Ginny Weasley only appears briefly in the first film, seeing off her brothers on platform 9 3/4, and Bonnie Wright certainly fits J.K. Rowling's description of being a small girl. But we need to brighten up her hair. Like her siblings, she's described as being redheaded. So let's get that hair away from the brown end of the ginger spectrum and right up to flaming red. Later on in the book series, she's described as having a long mane of red hair, so we're going to give the youngest Weasley instant hair extensions. Her bob in the first movie is gone in favor of flowing locks. Like her brothers, Ginny needs a whole load of freckles. After all, as Draco explains, all the Weasleys have red hair and freckles. Illustrator Jim Kay gives Ginny a generous helping of freckles in the illustrated version of Book 4. He also gives her the correct eye color. And so we need to sort out those eyes. Bonnie has blue eyes, but Ginny is actually described in Book 2 as having bright brown eyes. So it's bye-bye baby blues and hello brooding browns. That's better. In the books, we first meet Neville Longbottom on platform 9 3/4 and then on the Hogwarts Express. The only description we get of his appearance is that he's a round-faced boy. And Matthew Lewis is certainly a round-faced boy to begin with. He has brown hair and is on the short and plump side. But the actor changes massively over the course of the films. In fact, he says he had to wear a fat suit as the films progressed. Now, J.K. Rowling is pretty brief with her physical descriptions of Neville in the books. However, in an interview, the author said that, to her, Neville's short and plump and blonde. But what she loves about the books is that people bring their own imagination to the story to fill in the gaps. Interestingly, in the illustrated version of the first novel, Jim Kay gave Neville brown hair. But to be true to Rowling's vision, we need to switch up Neville's hair color from brown to blonde. We need to make him shorter and fatter, and we need to keep him that way. Matthew Lewis, stop growing! We're finishing with the boy who lived, Harry Potter himself. Of course, his most defining feature is the very thin scar on his forehead, which was shaped like a bolt of lightning, as J.K. Rowling described it. That's closely followed by his black hair and round glasses, which were held together with a lot of sellotape when we first meet him in the book. But there's a major difference between Daniel Radcliffe's version of Harry and the book's version, and that's the color of his eyes. So let's sort that out straight away. Harry is described as having bright green eyes, but Daniel has blue. They couldn't get that detail right in the movie because the actor was allergic to contact lenses. But as we're told time and time again that Harry's eyes are green, just like his mother's, we need to correct that pronto. As for his hair, it's described in the first book as being all over the place, so we need to ruffle up those locks and give Harry a messier do. Harry's also described as having a thin face, so we need to lengthen that out. Plus, he's small and skinny for his age, so let's shrink him down even more. J.K. Rowling would be so proud. We hate to say it, but we're not sure Victor Crumb would have fallen for Hermione if she actually had those big teeth and big hair in the movies. And as for Daniel being allergic to green contact lenses, he must have really impressed at his audition to get past that hurdle. Do you think the movie versions should have stayed true to J.K. Rowling's descriptions in the books? Sound off in the comments and let us know. Thanks for watching!